Sharp bettors immediately bet Oklahoma City at -8.5. And that was not a surprise because that's going to be the overwhelming public side. So here's what they know. We bet -8.5 in those accounts that are shaded as sharp. The books are going to move it. The public don't care about whether it's 8.5 or 9.5. They're still going to bet it. I think if this line gets to double digits, that's where you're going to see some take back on the other side, on the home team, on the Grizzlies. I'm not convinced that Oklahoma City's a legit move. I think that's more like getting out ahead of the market when you're all but assured you're going to have a better number in your pocket than what that game closes at. And then they're also betting the dog in the Detroit Knicks game. You got a little more dog money on Detroit. Not surprised. It's a coin flip type of game. I think that's going to balance out. I think you'll get just as much Knick money later on. But it's the late game. It's the late game where you have, the Clippers getting bet by the sharp bettors, and the recreational bettors are actually taking the Nuggets. So they're going to help offset that risk there. And under is also where the groups got in. They went under 214.5. Again, they're only betting these unders more or less in NBA playoffs. So to tie that up, they got ahead of the market on Oklahoma City -8.5, but that one's going to be heavily bet by the betting public. Look for a middle opportunity if you see that line start to drop a little later in the day. And then the Knicks Pistons, good two-way action there. That's why you're not seeing much of a line movement. Nuggets, Clippers, opposite opinions. Recreational bettors liking the points with the Nuggets. Sharp bettors laying the points with the Clippers all the way up to -4 and 4.5. And then they also went under 214.5. Not much there from the recreational bettors yet. So it's not a day like yesterday to have a ton of risk on one team. It's kind of a little bit more spread out. And with the Nuggets being that late game, that'll be heavier bet by the public. They have the sharps that are offsetting that risk. So it's going to be one of those days where it's good to be a bookmaker. Getting 11 to 10, nothing better than that, because they're going to get a ton of volume and not much risk. In NHL, they're on Ottawa. No surprise, Ottawa at home, and the public's on Ottawa as well. I'm a little worried about that. The line reflects some respect on Ottawa, but I think if you got down early, it's obviously a good bet. You got some CLV. But when I see the sharps and the public on the same side, and the public continues to bet it at a bad line, that usually worries me. But then they also bet Vegas. And that's a side I actually lean a little bit, but I'm not going to lay that kind of price on the road. The opener was good at 140. At 160, I would not bet Vegas. In my opinion, I like St. Louis against Winnipeg against St. Louis. That's the one road favorite I think is warranted. I think they win that game 6 out of 10 times. I think they should be a -150 at worst. So just an opinion out there. I like the Winnipeg side. Real quickly, in Major League Baseball, here's what we're looking at. White Sox at +205 or better, so they don't think they would lose that game 2 out of 3 times. 908 A's +130, +125. Also under 9 in the A's game, all the way up to -125, so they don't have to go under 8.5. LA and Pittsburgh, over 8.5 from -105 all the way to -125. So willing to pay heavy juice not to go over 9 in that Pittsburgh, LA. And finally, Tampa Bay, Arizona. 2 numbers they bet. Over 7.5, laid a little juice to go over 7.5, then took the 8 at even money, then bet the over 8 all the way up to -115. So definitely a lot of sharp money on the over in Tampa Bay, Arizona. So that's White Sox, A's and under, over in Pittsburgh, LA, over in Tampa Bay and Arizona in Major League Baseball. I've learned to bet it later. I used to try to get out ahead of all the information, and I found out I made more money, higher return on investment by waiting for confirmation, because I'm not afraid to put up a lot of money to win a little if I know I have the right side, as opposed to putting a little to win a lot just to play like psychic, because that's what you're doing early on. You got to remember, a lot of these GMs and coaches, they're not tipping their hand early. You know what I mean? They might want a player, and they don't want to let that be known because there's a team ahead of them that also is looking for, let's say, a tight end or something like that. But then on the flip side of the coin, you have a handful of GMs and teams that have already told you what they want, who they're getting. In fact, some have even reached out to these players already. So I urge you to trust the line moves that happened today. That's how you're going to make your money. Listen, opinions are great. but Vegas backs their opinions with cash. They know if they're wrong, it's going to cost them a lot of money, kind of like the rankings throughout the season in college football. The only reason you should ever pay attention to them is to see where they're wrong, the narrative, compared to what the odds makers think. Because the odds makers don't care about the popularity contest or the record. They care about, on paper, how good is this team? Would they be favored over the other? That's how they look at it. Power ratings, not rankings. And it's the same with the draft. When you start seeing those line moves confirm something, don't be afraid to bet it. And if the line's gotten a little away from you, here's how you use it. You use it by looking at your mock draft. You should already have a mock draft of what you think is going to happen. And then as it happens, or where you're wrong, then you could cross off players. Like, okay, this guy's gone.
Right.
This team's still looking for a tight end or running back. This is the next best available. That's how you make some money on draft day. That's why I've only released 3 so far. I'm going to give you the biggest bet I made already. And that's the under 2.5 quarterbacks. I started betting that, Prez, at like plus 140. I gave it to my subscribers at plus 130. I even bet it 2 nights ago at minus 105, because as deep as I look on this first round, I can't see more than 2 quarterbacks. I see Cam Ward going number 1,
right,
even though he's not the best available player. He's going to go number 1 to Tennessee. We already know that. But after that, the only thing I see is the possibility of Deion Sanders' son. And his stock continues to drop. Now people think he's going to go to the Steelers around 21. Before that, I don't see a quarterback going except for the number 1 spot. After that, I don't see a quarterback going. So I really feel confident we're going to cash that under 2.5, just like I feel confident in the over 6.5 that we laid a little bit of juice to go over offensive linemen. Listen, when teams are stuck where a player gets lost that they wanted, you know what they're going after. They're going after an offensive lineman. They're going after the trenches, unless there's, a edge rusher available. That's what these GMs are building off of, offensive line and defensive line, unless, again, you have a specialty position that needs to be filled, like a wide receiver or a running back. Like we know the Raiders want a running back. I mean, if obviously they want that kid from Boise State, Ashton Janty. That's who they want. They're not going to go into the season with Mostert and McCormick as their top running backs. That's what Carroll wants. He needs a running back. So if there's a trade before that, or if Janty goes before that, you look for the next available top running back. That's how you make money on draft day, followed by keep that odds logic screen up or whatever you're using and follow those line moves, those confirmations. They all but assure you what's going to happen. Again, it's great when you hit a 10-1, 15-1 long shot. If you're the only one that called the kid from Georgia going to the 6th spot or whatever. But the amount that you're going to lose trying to hit that 10-1, barely is going to cover that up. I'm comfortable laying 400, 500 to win 100 when I know this is all but confirmed. And that's what I'm looking for today. So subscribers, I know you only got 3 prop bets so far. You will receive them over the next couple hours. We make money year in, year out on the draft. This one will be no different.
Yeah, Prez, this is a good example of what I'm talking about. In the video, I did the video the day before. I put it up last night so people can get the deep dive for all these games here on WagerTalk TV. But I lean towards the Grizzlies. It's Memphis or pass for me. But once again, not a game that's going to make my best bet card. So this is one of those examples. It's a light lean only. I'm not looking to fade a team down 0-2 at home, but I'm also not looking to fade the best team in the NBA. I thought game 2 maybe was a decent spot for Memphis as well. Luckily, I left that off the best bet card. It's one of the reasons I'm on an 80%, 82 best bet run is because I'm not forcing plays on every game. But the videos, I do give you my breakdowns. I'll let you know which way I'm leaning. And one of the things I said about game 2 is like, look, we know the Thunder can blow out Memphis. They just won by 51 points in game 1. And by the way, that was an NBA playoff record for game 1, 51-point win. They're by far the best team in the league. They had 68 wins this year. I think Cleveland, Boston had, 61 or so? Yeah. That's how much better they were than everybody else. Yet the Grizzlies are still a capable team. So the question becomes, does OKC take their foot off the gas? They didn't do so in game 2 with the 19-point win. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen tonight. And we are getting some line value. I mean, this line was 8.5 when I did the video yesterday. Now it's 9.5.
Yeah.
And we're seeing 9.5 minus 115 at Bet Online. So Dave Mason will probably confer that they're getting some money on the Thunder as well. We might get a plus 10 by tip-off. Grizzlies are pass for me. The line is inflated. Long term, there's probably a slight edge money-wise or math-wise with this inflated line. But once again, nothing would surprise me if the Thunder want to win by margin. They've shown they can do it. One other interesting point I'll point out about the Grizzlies, if you look at net rating for the overall season, Oklahoma City, the best team in the league. Grizzlies had the 6th best net rating in the NBA this year out of all 30 teams. So they are a capable team.
Right.
Problem is they had some injuries, Clark, other guys down the stretch, and they're only like 17th in the last 10 games. But I would lean Memphis here. But once again, you're playing against the best NBA team if you do so. Yeah, another game in which we've seen the money coming on the favorite. It opened 4.5 a couple of days ago. You'll see WagerTalk showing the consensus line is -5. But then again, our friends at Bet Online, Dave Mason will tell you next, it's 5.5 there now. And some of the other sharper books. So I think the money is on the Clippers. I think the sharp early money was on the Clippers. And I would agree with that move. I liked LA as well in game 2. I gave that out free in my video. I mentioned I leaned to Memphis, but I gave out the Clippers for free as well. Didn't use either one of those as best bets the other night, but gave a nice winner in the video there. And one of the things I pointed out is that I thought the Clippers were the better team. And yes, they lost game 1, but that was in overtime by just 2 points. Keep in mind, it was in the thin air and altitude of Denver. That's always an edge for the Nuggets the longer the game goes, especially OT, as they're used to it. And the Clippers had not lost a game in April until that loss in game 1, which was once again by just 2 points in OT. They also had a 15-point lead in that loss in game 1 and blew it. So thought they would bounce back in game 2. They did do so. Overall, a pretty evenly matched series. So you would think on the surface, the zigzag would work pretty well here, and it might. But I still lean towards the better team in game 3 when it's 1-1. I'm going to throw the zigzag out. I think the Clippers get the win here. Yes, the line is inflated, but if they get the win, they most likely get the cover. One thing you don't want to do, and you and Johnny were talking about this earlier, is you don't want to just take a 4 or 5 point dog and hope they cover, right? You got to think they have a good chance to win outright. I see LA winning this game tonight, so I like them as well. And one thing I'll point out real quick, Perez, about that net rating I mentioned. If you look over the last 15 games of the regular season, the Clippers had the best net rating in the NBA, ahead of even OKC, and they were the #1 offensive efficiency team and the #3 defensive efficiency team over the final month of the regular season. They're playing excellent basketball right now. Now, the Nuggets have played better since firing Malone and the general manager exactly 2 weeks ago. So they've also played better ball, but I think the Clippers are a better team overall, and they get this pivotal game 3 tonight.
First of all, Detroit has been the better team here for 7 of the 8 quarters, okay, in my opinion. Obviously, they had that implosion. 21-0 run in the fourth quarter of the first game. That was not pretty, but they learned a lot from that, right? They rebounded nicely, and they faced adversity in that second game. If you remember, they started to not really implode, but they weren't playing well down the stretch, but they overcame it, and they actually won that game. So I think that bodes well for their confidence. I think they're coming back home. If you remember Detroit basketball, right? They haven't had a home playoff game in a long, long time. I don't know how long, but it's probably been over a decade. So that place will be raucous. I like the Pistons here. Just a lot of confidence, and I just think that they're, all the momentum is with them right now. So I'm going to take the Pistons here on the money line. I think they're maybe plus 100, plus 105 right now, but I like the Pistons tonight.
The first one we're talking about is Mingyang Zhang, minus 520, and the comeback, you've got Anthony Smith. He is plus 390. Now, this feels like an absolute smash spot for Mingyang Zhang, and obviously that's what the line is indicating at this point here. You look at this here, and the first thing, the big red flag on the Anthony Smith side is the fact that he's on his retirement fight. This is, really the end of his career here. He's 36 years old. He's probably 56 years old when you're talking about MMA mileage that he has had. And now on the flip side here, you've got Mingyang Zhang, who is absolutely a guy that the UFC wants to build up. He's Chinese. That is a big market that they want to continually stay involved in, big viewership. And he's also now the co-main event in this spot here. And the big thing about Zhang is he is an absolute finisher. He's got 18 victories. All of them have come inside the distance, 100% finish rate. And out of those 18 victories, 12 by knockout, 6 by submission, and all of them coming in round 1. So this guy will go out there and get the job done early. Now, the way that I'm looking at this is that Anthony Smith, he just does not really absorb shots very well. He's a guy that once things start getting tough, he's starting to turtle up a little bit. He's starting to shell up with Zhang, who's coming forward with the big power. And I don't think he's going to have any respect for Smith. I think Smith, who does not have much power at all, I don't think he's going to really do much on the feet. I think Zhang is going to come forward, land big shots. And you've also got Smith, who's 37-21 as a professional. He's been knocked out 10 times. The durability is really starting to deteriorate here, all declining. And really the only way that Smith has any type of success here is looking for takedowns. And that's not anything that he historically does. He averages less than half a takedown per 15 minutes. So this fight is going to play out on the feet. And I think Zhang's going to land some brutal shots early, and getting off that big minus 520 number, you can get Zhang by knockout inside the first 2 rounds is around minus 145, minus 150. I think that is a fantastic price. This is the end of Smith, and I do think that it does end brutally in favor of Zhang. We got Randy Brown here. He is minus 235. In the comeback, we have Nicholas Dalby. He is plus 195. Now, the reason why Brown is the favorite here is because now Dalby is a 40-year-old. Obviously, that's not a good sign when you're looking at age-wise. We're just talking about Anthony Smith. But also, you've got, Brown, who has a 4-inch reach advantage. He's going to be better on the feet. He's going to be better at range. And there are those things that he does do well, which still at minus 235, this line is, I think, very prohibitive at this point here. And really, most of Brown's wins are very small margins. I mean, he is just eking out some decisions. He's getting these victories, but just eking them out. And I think the style at which Dalby fights is really going to be giving Brown a ton of problems here as he moves forward. And that's the thing really with Brown. He wants space. He wants to utilize his reach. He wants to utilize, his footwork. And Dalby's going to crash the pocket. He's going to come forward. He's not going to stop. He weaponizes his cardio very well. And really, I think it's going to be like a rinse and repeat here. He's going to push forward, get him up against the fence, probably bully Brown a little bit, hold him up against the fence, take him down. If Brown gets up, he's going to stay latched on. He's got incredible cardio. He's going to keep doing that. And I think that's going to cause a lot of problems here. And then also, you look at the fact that Brown, his last loss really was in that manner. He pretty much, was against Brian Battle. He was landing good shots early. And then as the fight was going on, Battle said, forget it. Let me just hold you up against the fence and just pretty much cage push for the fight. And that's what he did. And it worked out. He got the decision victory. I do think this is really what Dalby's going to do. And I think he does it actually better than Brian Battle does. So you're talking about a plus 190 price tag here. I think this should be much closer. I think there's a path here that Dalby can actually go out there and get the job done. So I don't think it's going to be a flashy victory, but I think he'll win positionally and bank rounds and get the job done.